For years, I confused love with sacrifice. I gave everything, my attention, my time, even my identity, in hopes of being chosen, validated, loved in return. But every relationship left me feeling emptier than before. It felt like I was slipping through the cracks of my own self, as if every act of giving pushed me further away from the very thing I was searching for. That wasn't love. It was hunger, an emotional, ancestral hunger born out of absence. A black hole formed in childhood, echoing the looks I never received, the hugs that never came, the words that were never spoken. Every time I got involved with someone, it was that starving child inside who took the wheel. And she'd say, if I'm good enough, maybe they'll love me. Maybe this time I'll be chosen. This cycle tore me apart. I kept repeating the same patterns without knowing why. I got into relationships where I totally erased myself, only to blame myself later for disappearing. I did everything I could to be loved, but forgot to love myself. Each breakup wasn't just the end of a relationship. It was the collapse of an identity built on emotional crumbs. Then one day, in the middle of yet another post-relationship void, I came across a Jung quote that said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." It hit me like an arrow. I felt like someone had finally named the prison I was living in. For the first time, I realized there was something inside me, internal forces, shaping my romantic choices. I wasn't unlucky. I was unconscious. I dove headfirst into analytical psychology. Through Jung, I discovered symbolic figures within me, archetypes that shaped how I loved, suffered, and hoped. The most powerful one was the psychic child, a frozen-in-time inner version of me, holding on to all the unmet needs and fears I'd swallowed during childhood. That inner child was behind my self-erasure patterns. She believed she had to earn love. She was terrified of being rejected. She was the one who felt every little criticism as total abandonment. Every silence from the other person was a deafening sign of contempt, and every absence was a confirmation of what I secretly feared. You're not enough. That realization was devastating. I saw that I was never really relating to the other person. I was trying to heal my own original wound through them, hoping that present love would erase past pain, that a partner's validation could fix the rejection I felt in my childhood. But that never happens. Love isn't retroactive. No one can fill the void in another person. And I realized I had to stop looking for outside solutions to what could only be rebuilt inside. That's when my shadow appeared. According to Jung, the shadow is everything we deny about ourselves, what we shove into the basement of our psyche because we learned it wasn't acceptable. What had I hidden there? My anger, my sense of abandonment, my desire to be seen, my insatiable neediness. The shadow isn't evil, but when it's ignored, it fights back. It got back at me through the choices I made, always the same types: emotionally unavailable people, narcissists, avoidant partners. I kept picking them because, deep down, I was unconsciously trying to relive the original trauma, hoping that this time I could fix it. But that fix is a trap. Because the more you try to save the other person, the more you sink into yourself. I ended up in relationships where I played therapist, mom, advisor, emotional nurse. I was the last one heard and the first one to give. And at the end, abandonment. Always. It was through that painful cycle that I started mapping my relationships as symbols. Each partner reflected a lesson I hadn't learned yet. Each breakup was a mirror, forcing me to look inward. And that's where she was. My inner child, alone, desperate to be embraced. I decided to do something radical. For the first time, I sat with myself in silence, without judging, without trying to fix anything. I just listened, and she spoke. She told me about all the times she was invisible in childhood, about the shouting that made her shrink, about the days she was good, but nobody noticed. She didn't want to be perfect. She just wanted to be loved for existing. I cried like I never had before, because I finally understood that my endless external search was really an internal cry for help. and no one could answer that cry except me. From that point on, I began a deep individuation process, one of Jung's central concepts. Individuation is the journey of integration, recognizing every part of yourself, including the darker ones, and making peace with them. Becoming whole, not through perfection, but through acceptance. It was painful. It meant facing my emotional addictions, my need for approval, my fear of being alone, my illusion of control. It also meant losing people, because when you stop erasing yourself, a lot of people walk away. People who only knew how to love your submission, not your truth. But the loss turned into space, and that space turned into rebuilding. I started writing letters to myself, answering the questions I had always asked others, observing myself with gentleness, treating my boundaries as sacred, and something magical happened. The more I filled myself up, the less I needed to be filled by someone else. Love started to shift. It went from urgency to calm, from lack to presence, from dependency to freedom. Right then, I understood. What I'd been calling love was never actually love. It was emptiness. It was an attempt to escape. It was an emotional addiction. Real love, the kind Jung talked about as the integration of the self, begins when you come home to yourself. Coming home to myself was the bravest act of my life, because it's not a romantic, shiny return. It's stepping into the cave, into the parts of you you've spent your life avoiding. Coming home means walking down the dark halls of your past, meeting your ghosts and saying, "I see you. I'm not running anymore." And there they were, the screams nobody heard, the sobs muffled by pillows, the nights I waited for affection that never arrived, the guilt of existing, the shame of wanting too much, the need to be invisible just to be accepted. Little by little, I started recognizing the map of my soul. I realized my deepest pains were also my biggest breakthroughs. That rejection taught me about belonging. That abandonment led me back to presence. That pain, when heard, becomes a teacher. I understood that to truly love someone, you can't expect them to fill your gaps. And that doesn't mean being cold. It means having emotional maturity. It means looking at another person and saying, "I love you, but I don't need you to exist." That's the difference between loving and merging. For years, I didn't know where I ended and the other person began. My body, my mind, my routine, all shaped by the need to please, to not bother, to be whatever the other person wanted. But that isn't love, that's dilution. In therapy, I learned to recognize my boundaries, to set clear limits, to see that saying no doesn't make me bad, it makes me human. Choosing myself isn't selfish, it's survival. Self-care isn't vanity, it's revolutionary. Gradually, I rebuilt myself, piece by piece, like gluing together the shards of an old vase. Not to make it look brand new, but so it could tell its story. Like Japanese kintsugi, which turns scars into gold. My wounds didn't vanish, but now they shine. Today, when I look back, I see that each relationship that shattered me was actually an invitation to return to myself. Each person who left opened up a wound that needed care. Each no I heard brought me closer to an internal yes. And that changes everything. When you heal, you change the way you relate, not just to others, but to life. You stop chasing crumbs and start preparing inner feasts. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop begging. You stop shrinking. You begin to exist with dignity. Then, something extraordinary happens. Your relationships also change. You attract people who don't want to save you or drain you, but truly meet you. People who aren't afraid of your depth, who don't try to shrink you. People who know how to love with presence, not neediness. That's rare because the world is full of halves looking for other halves to feel whole. But you don't want that anymore. You don't need that anymore. You've become whole. And now, you only accept what comes from abundance, not from lack. Being whole doesn't mean being healed all the time or happy 24/7. It means knowing who you are, even when everything around you is falling apart. It means keeping your center, knowing your worth doesn't depend on how much people love you, praise you, or choose you. Being whole is not imploding when someone else goes quiet. It's not folding out of fear of rejection. It's having the courage to walk away when love wounds more than it heals. It's no longer begging for reciprocation, because now you know what you give is too sacred to throw at the feet of someone who doesn't know how to receive it. Jung taught me that real love isn't just an emotion, it's a state of consciousness. It's when two people see each other, not because they complete each other, but because they respect each other's individuality. They understand that the strongest bond is one where there's room to breathe, to grow, to just be. From that viewpoint, everything changed. My idea of love, my idea of other people, my idea of myself. What used to be desperation became calm. What used to be neediness became choice. What used to be dependency became freedom. And with that, I lost some connections, but found deeper ones. I lost a lot of people. Some couldn't handle my transformation. Others were never really there. But I gained something far bigger. I gained myself. And that's a kind of love that nobody can take away from you. I started dating differently. No games, no masks, not making myself smaller. I learned to name what I felt, say what I needed, and notice when I was slipping back into old patterns. I didn't judge myself. I just paid attention. And that brought a new kind of presence, a new way of being in touch with my own emotions. Here's a truth that might sting, but ultimately sets you free. Loving also means letting go. Not every love will flourish. Not every connection will thrive. And that's okay, because love isn't about possession. It's about passage. Sometimes the most loving act is to shut the door gently behind you. Some loves show up to teach us exactly where we're still bleeding. They push on the spot where it hurts. We call it passion, but it's really just an echo. It's the trauma screaming, "Heal me." Once you recognize that, the dynamic shifts. You're no longer fooled by illusions that promise paradise but give you deserts. You don't romanticize pain. You don't cling to people who don't see you. You don't bargain away your light to fit into someone else's darkness. And then, real love becomes possible. Not the fairy tale kind, but the love that grows out of reality, out of something grounded. The love between two whole people who know that loving is about responsibility, not desperation. Who know that freedom isn't distance, but trust. Who know that real presence is more than just being there. It's keeping your heart open. Loving someone isn't disappearing into them. It's having your own roots while you reach out and touch someone else with true presence. It's saying, "I'm fully here and I can meet you without losing me." That awareness changes everything. How you talk, what silences you'll accept, how you stand back up after each fall. For years, I sought approval in empty glances, trying to prove my worth in imbalanced relationships, settling for crumbs, romanticizing absence. Now I see that wasn't love. It was emotional survival, fear of facing my inner abyss. Because the real terror wasn't solitude, it was the silence that comes with it. The echo of those internal voices saying, "You're not enough, you're not lovable, you'll never be chosen." Those voices were planted in me long before my first relationship. They were born in childhood, in the dynamics with the people who should have given me structure and warmth, but only gave me criticism, silence, or coldness. Jung said that becoming yourself requires crossing through the dark valleys of your soul. That individuation starts when you confront your pain. That's where I was reborn. I revisited my childhood memories with new eyes. I saw the little girl trying to be perfect to make everyone happy. The one who did whatever it took not to cause trouble. The one who smiled when she really wanted to cry. The one who said yes with a lump in her throat. I started writing letters to her, holding her close, telling her every day, "You don't have to hide anymore. You are enough just as you are." And she believed me. During this process, anger also rose to the surface. Anger I never let myself feel. Anger at being ignored, minimized, forced to carry emotional burdens that weren't mine, taught that love was all about effort and struggle. I let it out, without shame, because even anger, when it's heard, can lead to healing. Slowly, my body started reacting differently. The anxiety that used to devour me while waiting for a text, gone. The torment at someone's silence, quieted down. The need to control, melted away. I learned to live in the present with more wholeness, trusting that what's meant to stay will stay, and what leaves was meant to teach me. That's when I realized how much my way of loving had been shaped by trauma, and how, by healing the trauma, I was also freeing the way I love. Freeing the way I love also freed what I expect from others. I used to want someone to save me, to say, "You're safe now. I'll never leave you." I wanted guarantees, promises. I wanted someone to rescue me from my own pain. But the truth is, no one's coming. And that's not sad. It's liberating. Because as long as I waited for someone else, I was absent from myself. Now I'm the presence I always needed, and it changes everything. The silence in my house, how I go to bed at night, how I look in the mirror. This inner reconciliation also taught me to accept life's flow more gently. Relationships begin, end, or change form. Not all love will last forever. Not every connection will deepen. And that's okay. Love doesn't have to be eternal to be real. It just has to be honest while it's here. I learned to let go with love, without begging, without drama, without abandoning myself in the process. Sometimes loving someone means loosening your grip, accepting that the cycle closed, and making space for something new, both inside and out. One of Jung's greatest lessons to me is that the most important relationship in your life is the one you have with yourself, because from it springs everything you attract, sustain, and allow. If you don't respect yourself, you'll put up with disrespect. If you don't hear yourself, you'll accept cutting silences. If you don't embrace yourself, you'll see rejection as your destiny. Today, I listen to myself. I welcome myself. I respect myself. That doesn't mean I never make mistakes. It means that even when I do, I stay on my own side. I won't abandon myself ever again, because that was the big trauma. Being left alone right when I needed support the most. Now, I'm here. For me. With me. That inner presence gave me discernment. I can sense right away when a relationship isn't for me. Before, I'd ignore the signs, cling to crumbs, sugarcoat the bare minimum. Now, I honor my intuition. If something hurts me early on, I don't wait around for it to get worse. I leave because I'm worth peace, kindness, and reciprocity. Having that clarity hasn't made me less sensitive. It's made me more open, because now I'm not afraid of being left. I'm not afraid of saying how I feel. I'm not afraid of revealing who I am. If someone can't handle my depth, that's fine. I'm not here to be superficial for anyone who doesn't want to dive in. I'm here to live myself fully. Living fully is a silent revolution. It means choosing not to edit your emotions to fit into someone else's emotional space. It means stopping the habit of reshaping yourself for approval, pruning yourself so you don't bother anyone, silencing yourself out of fear. It means looking at yourself with compassion and saying, "I give you permission to exist exactly as you are." That permission changed everything about me. I used to think I had to be prettier, more interesting, smarter, calmer, something more, just to be loved. Now I just need to be real, because the ones who truly love me whole, not the performance I used to put on out of fear. And sometimes, loving yourself means disappointing others. It means saying no when they want a yes, leaving when they want you to stay, stopping the fake smile when your soul wants to scream. All of that has a price, but its value is infinitely greater. Living in line with your own truth. This is the deepest love I've ever known. Love for myself, grown in silence, forged in pain, nurtured by listening, sustained by courage. A love that doesn't break when someone else isn't there, because it has learned how to be its own presence. That love gave me roots. It made me stop begging for affection. It taught me to value my own time, my body, my cycles, to see that I'm not hard to love. I'm just too deep for those who stay in the shallow end. And when you get to that point, everything lines up. Conversations change. Bonds get purified. Spaces once filled with chaos now fill with peace. It's not loneliness. It's wholeness. It's not isolation. It's choice. You start attracting people who've also made their way back to themselves. People who aren't looking to be half of anything, who aren't afraid of your intensity, who don't belittle you to feel bigger, who don't silence you to keep control. These people are rare, but once you become whole, you become a magnet for what's real, and real is simple. It's someone sitting beside you who needs no promises, just presence. Someone who listens without trying to fix you, who sees you beyond the masks, who recognizes your soul when everyone else just sees your body, who doesn't run when your intensity overflows, but dives in with you. This kind of love is possible, but it only blooms after you've sunk. It only flowers after the winter. It only remains when you no longer need it to exist. Today, I see I didn't waste time with the loves that hurt me. I had to break over and over to finally see where I was cracking. I had to hit the bottom of myself to find that even there I could find light. I had to lose myself completely so I could find who I really was. Not who I thought I should be, but who I am at my core. And that version of me, the one born from pain, solitude, reflection and courage, is the one I choose to be now. An imperfect version, but conscious. Fragile, yet firm. Intense, yet at peace. If I could go back in time, I'd hug every past version of me who crawled for love. I'd look her in the eye and say, "You are worthy even when you're not chosen. You are lovable even when you're rejected. You are enough even when they say otherwise." Because nothing, absolutely nothing, I searched for in someone else was ever missing from me. That's why the love guiding me now isn't the love I receive, but the love I give myself. It helps me make wiser choices. It helps me see that someone's silence can be more revealing than 1,000 words. Sometimes absence is the answer. And if someone doesn't know how to love me, that says nothing about my worth. It says a lot about their limitations. Loving yourself means no longer waging wars just to be seen. It means not trying to be a roadmap for someone who insists on getting lost. It means realizing we're not responsible for other people's emotional immaturity. It's refusing to carry guilt that isn't ours. I'm not hard to love. I've just stopped accepting love that's too easy. Love that doesn't require depth, that's content with the surface, that freaks out when things get real. That's not enough for me anymore. Now I choose to love with both feet on the ground. No illusions, no romanticizing pain, no waiting to be rescued. And most importantly, without abandoning myself along the way. If you relate to this journey, if you've ever felt small just to fit into someone else's version of love, if you've ever erased yourself to be accepted, if you've ever confused attention with affection, control with caring, or neediness with connection, then I invite you to take the path back to you. Come back home. Sit with your pain. Listen to your inner child. Let your shadow speak. Care for your wounds with tenderness. And above all, stop waiting for someone else to rescue you. You are the rescue. You are the answer. You are the love you've been looking for. And maybe, just maybe, now is the time to love differently. To love from the inside out. To love without losing yourself. To love with presence, with truth, with freedom. Because in the end, what Jung taught me wasn't really about the other person. It was about me. About realizing that the most transformative kind of love is the one you have the courage to give yourself every day. And that kind of love, no one can ever take it away. If this story struck a chord with you, if at any moment you saw your own reflection here, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes a single click can be the start of someone's healing. And if you want to keep walking this path with me, of self-discovery, rebuilding, and true love, subscribe to this channel. We don't have to heal alone. We're in this together. always.